Okay, well, should I read the quote by Cicero? So
Sounds good.
this is on the Eleusinian Mysteries. I got this from Sam Harris podcast with Brian Murarescu. Really highly recommend it. Did you ever listen to that podcast or part of it?
I don't remember. I would say probably not.
Hmm. Highly recommend it. But anyway, for it appears to me that among the many exceptional and divine things your Athens has produced and contributed to human life, nothing is better. He's speaking of the Eleusinian Mysteries. For by means of them we have been transformed from a rough and savage way of life to the state of humanity and have been civilized. Just as they are called initiations, so in actual fact we have learned from them the fundamentals of life and have grasped the basis, not only for living with joy, but also for dying with a better hope. So we were talking off air a little bit about how this is referring to the Eleusinian Mysteries, which was a multi-day ritual that Greeks could go through in the ancient world. It lasted for something like 2,000 years, this cult. It's very long-lived. And it had something to do with the ancient myth of Persephone, which we talked about as she was the daughter of Demeter, of the goddess of grain and the harvest. And she was abducted by Hades, the god of the underworld. And this has some, linkage between fecundity, fruitfulness, life, and death, and sex and death. That kind, that sort of almost a trope, but I think it is very important. And so, later on, her, and going down into death as a person who is alive, is very different than going down when you're dead. And there is maybe something symbolic in that for but yeah, there's something about the transformative or mystic or psychedelic or something experiences that is reflected in that, of that it's some kind of feeling, some kind of experience of dying while you're alive that is obviously symbolic of like having a new life, but the experience of which may be transformative. And yeah, and in the myth, she is her partial return is negotiated, where during part of the year she will spend down in the underworld, also named Hades, and part of the year, and that'll be winter time, and part of the year she will be up in the in this world, and that will be spring and summertime. And so also, in this myth, you have this idea of the cyclical nature of the death giving rise to life, going back to death, over and over again, the cyclical nature, life and death of life. And I think I get this idea from Joseph Campbell that part of, I don't know, what you're looking for in transformation and spiritual growth in life is an acceptance of this idea, of the reality that you will die, but with the peace, knowing that you are part of a larger thing which goes on, and your death is part of that larger thing. And this seems to be good for psychological health and for happiness when looking at its opposite too. when one overemphasizes, wanting to be alive, wanting to feel alive, putting death out of one's mind, things like that, living on the surface, being superficial like that. So I think I compared it a little bit to like pop music, like full of energy, but not somehow full of life.
Yeah, it's like I come across people where you can't mention death or even talk about it because they'll say it's a negative. It's like a negative thing and to like not bring it up.
Really?
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
kind of
it might
sad.
be hard to try to start a conversation about why that might be a symptom of a sort of bad approach to
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
But do you know these people? Do you have a sense of how much they don't accept death in life? How superficial they might be? How anxious they might be?
Yeah, I kind of think I mentioned it to you before, but the person had drug problems in the past. So
I think
yeah, I mean, there's
oftentimes
already kind of a fear there.
I think also, yeah, often drug problems are kind of maybe trying to run away from something rather than accepting it, trying to cover up the feeling that one gets, uncomfortable feelings that one gets.
Mhm. But yeah, like kind of going back to the myth of Persephone, it kind of had me thinking that maybe like the 6 months she spends in the underworld is maybe kind of symbolic of how sometimes he, as a person, you maybe kind of need to get away a bit from the
Yeah,
world and kind of do the ritual or sort of contemplation uh
like a rest from
regarding
all
your kind of,
the,
yeah,
like a rest
kind
from
of,
all the stimulation and
yeah,
growth.
and yeah, and kind of get into that more contemplative state regarding your life and kind of your journey to dying eventually. And then like the
Yeah.
other 6 months are about just kind of participating in the world. Uh
Productivity.
yeah, yeah. So maybe kind of like you need to kind of have a little balance or something.
Mm. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
productive, you're fecund, you're having children, and then you're resting from all that for part of the year. Yeah, one thing that stuck out to me about the quote from Cicero, we have learned the fundamentals of life. He said, no. What I meant to talk about was he said, we have, he says, we have been transformed from a rough and savage way of life to the state of humanity and have been civilized. I mean, for me, the idea of being civilized has always, it's more artificial than say living in like a tribal or barbaric culture. Um, and that's not to say it's bad, but I think it's more like we in civilized um, life have to find a way to live naturally as civilized people, which could be like a paradox. But I think it's very much possible. But it sort of requires more wisdom than like living naturally in a state of nature or in like a tribal culture. Think you are less close to nature. You have to find a way to have your humanity, be in touch deeply with yourself and others while living sort of by the clock, living with artificial concepts a lot. Um, and to me, true, what I think of as true religion is what helps you to walk that path, to be natural, to be peaceful, to be happy, to be deeply connected, complex, civilized person. So that's why that stuck stuck out to me about the mysteries of Eleusis. And I think any sort of myth and ritual has to have that is relevant to us. Does myth strike you as, does it resonate with you at all, or any other myths?
Mhm.
Going down into the underworld against your will.
Yeah, I wasn't maybe thinking so much of this, but maybe more just thinking of like rituals, probably. Um,
Do you have rituals?
mm, I guess a ritual could be anything, right? You do all the time, or because I don't know what's the difference between a ritual and a habit.
I don't know. I think a ritual has symbolic meaning,
No.
or is able to get the mind into a certain state or something like that. Ritual seems to have some sort of purpose other than getting something done, like a habit. A habit could be productivity done efficiently and repetitively.
Yeah, I guess no, I feel I had more of that when I was heavily involved with the church. Uh, so I'm just remembering things like the mass every Sunday with the Eucharist. And other times I would do like the Stations of the Cross. So that's like you kind of walk around church grounds or within the church and you stop at each station, and each station represents a part of Jesus's life leading up to his death and resurrection. So I had to do that at times. Um, so did that.
Yeah,
Also
talk
just
about a
a
religion
confession.
that embraces death in some way. I mean, you
Yeah.
literally are eating. There's like a cannibalistic kind of, I don't know if that's the right word, but anyway, there's an eating of dead body, dead alive body every Sunday.
Mm.
There's a drinking of blood. It's based on a person who died, was
Mm.
dead 3 days in hell, Hades, and came back
Mm.
afterwards. Yeah, there's the cyclical nature of life there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I felt like what you said, it was kind of, yeah, it was kind of like a time to just not be of this world or concerned with the superficial everyday stuff. So I
Yeah,
knew like that when I was present in that moment, none of that really mattered. And I was just focused on the deeper things in life. So,
yeah, yeah. That's what I sort of like less about church services that are have contemporary music
yeah,
or bring up politics. I've never heard that, but I can imagine that's bringing you right back into the regular world. I mean, people complain about that on a more secular context where like you'll be watching sports and there'll be like a political message or something. It's like the part of the reason I watch this is to get away from that world.
yeah,
You know? But
yeah.
yeah,
And I like kind of heard criticisms before about why we have like the dead Jesus on the cross. Like I've kind of heard that kind of criticism from like Protestants. Like, why do we focus on a dead Jesus on the cross and like emphasize the death so much when, we can be focused on the resurrection more and
what's
have
your
like a
answer?
happier cross? Uh, I would just kind of maybe I think this whole conversation we're having because we're kind of like we kind of have to like face that death as a part of life and just kind of and I feel like you can't be a complete person or a healthy kind of person without kind of embracing or acknowledging that.
Yes, I think health, mental health is, yeah, you cannot have it without some sort of deep connection to death. The explanation of what you just said, you just talked about with the crosses, I've heard is that the Protestants emphasize the resurrection and Catholics
Mhm.
emphasize suffering and
Yeah,
maybe the humanity of Jesus. Either way, both of them know that he passed away and came back to life.
yeah, yeah. I'm not saying the resurrection or focusing on that is like a bad thing or anything like yeah, that needs to be like acknowledged too. But uh I guess just in general, just I guess there's some people that really want to shy away from death. So um yeah, just just not being too extreme about it. I mean, uh, that's what I'm kind of saying. Like there needs to be a balance.
Mm-hmm. Did you get into recording your dreams or practicing uh, lucid dreaming?
Yeah, I used to be really into that. I think since I haven't been recording my dreams as much, I was really good at it when I was younger and in
Why were you
college.
doing
I felt there was something was telling me there was something important about dreams. Uh, I'm not sure what I thought it was when I was younger. Uh, I know like a lot of it's maybe having an insight to like the self in a way. Um, but yeah, I feel like I wasn't, I feel there was something I knew or recognized maybe yes when I was younger about that made dreams important to me. I'm just not sure what it was actually, but
it?
it
Were
was like
you?
a
Do you feel like you were more in touch with your unconscious or some unconscious or something?
yeah, I knew that was something I wanted to do or that seemed important to me. Uh, yeah, so I part of me felt that way. So then I figured, I should keep track of these things. And I started keeping track and I kind of gained the ability to kind of lucid dream and kind of control what I dreamed about pretty frequently. And then I think after college, I kind of lost the ability.
What do you think you gained from that, from doing the lucid dreaming?
I felt I kind of, I felt like it kind of, again, maybe not as much as the church stuff, but still kind of kept me in touch with myself and maybe like kind of in a way like I was trying to look more deeply into the world through like my own subconscious or something. Maybe I was trying to gain some sort of understanding or information or something. Uh, but yeah, I'm still haven't really like delved into my motivations. I'm sure there's something there. Uh,
Well, it seemed when I asked you what you gained from lucid dreaming, it seems like you started to say that you what did you say? You got some kind of
Yeah, some kind
control.
of control, because I knew I would have nightmares and things like that. Because I would have these repetitive kind of dreams. And in those dreams, I kind of started recognizing stuff related to like my past trauma, like symbols and people and stuff. So through lucid dreaming, I was kind of able to kind of control the outcome of those dreams. So whenever I would have repetitive dreams, I would do something and I would kind of have like a different outcome in a dream.
Seems like you're kind
And
of just shutting things down, though.
yeah, maybe in regards to those kinds of dreams, I was kind of trying to shut it down, or actually, I would maybe kind of test different actions and reactions I would have in a dream through lucid dreaming. So I wouldn't say maybe I was necessarily shutting things down, but maybe kind of trying to work out different solutions or uh, actions I could take. And
Start
when,
reprogramming your memories.
yeah, um, so I think maybe it was kind of positive in a way at times.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe reduce suffering, but I thought you were saying it kind of increased your insight or something, but I think
maybe
insight
not
tends to
the
happen more from reflection on what happens rather than controlling what happens.
Yeah, I'd say maybe not so much about the lucid dreaming, but just recording my dreams in general. Like I would
Mm,
begin to recognize patterns, symbols, and just common themes and things like that.
that makes
So
sense.
then I would kind of get an idea of what's kind of going on in my
Yeah.
mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of lost the ability, and kind of a few days ago I was thinking about if it's a sign I'm kind of less in touch with myself or things like that. So I was kind of worried.
Do you feel like you are?
Well, I feel more preoccupied with well, before I didn't have that much responsibility or things I needed to do as an adult. So I felt I had more time for those kinds of things. But now I think part of the reason I lost the ability was because I'm so focused on the world and just working and all that stuff you need to do as an adult.
Do you think the work you do takes you away from yourself, from deep connection with yourself?
Maybe, I'm not sure. Like I feel like it's definitely draining. But maybe I just haven't found new ways to like kind of keep that going. That doesn't revolve around lucid dreaming and things like that.
You mentioned getting advertisements on Reddit for a certain type
Oh
of
yeah.
drug. I don't think it's a psychedelic, but we talked a little bit about psychedelic drug experiences. I mean, not about our own. I don't think you have had any. I have had one, um, and I have inadvertently had another that was, and both of them were bad trips. Um, yeah, you're kind of interested in that type of thing, like psychedelic drug therapy or something with a guide.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't yeah, I started getting ads on ketamine like about a week ago on Reddit, and it's some sort of website that I haven't clicked on the ad or anything, but it makes it sound like that you could just order it and get it shipped to you. And the ad said something about how it's going to help your people who had deep experiences with it, that like help them overcome anxiety and depression.
Yeah, that's what they say about psychedelics and things.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
but I think it's, set and setting are important and guide are important. Knowledge is
mhm,
important. I didn't mention about the Eleusinian Mysteries that, yeah, they were done later in life they were done obviously with the guidance of actual guides and the culture and the myth around its base. There's layers of knowledge and experience and helpfulness there. Not, also because you do it later in life, when you have more stability and maybe more built up kind of knowledge and reflection and things. Yeah, I think whatever happened in the 60s with the drug culture of just sort of freewheeling and way too much and everything just really gave the whole thing a really negative impression to people.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm interested in that in the future.
Yeah, so like I'm kind of intrigued by that advertisement, and if I see it again, I probably will click on the website. But yeah, it's like I'm not really sure about if they really do ship it to you without any sort of guidance. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not
you
really
shouldn't
sure
really do
about
that, I
trying
don't
it.
think.
Yeah.
It doesn't really sound like a good idea at all. I think I might have asked you, but are there any myths that you like that guide you?
I mean, like
Any
stories.
characters? Yes, stories, if you can't think of any myths. I forgot what, yeah, but myths are, I guess, sort of definition of myth is like, yeah, stories that are supposed to be maybe representations of like deeper structures in the world that help to guide you through reflection on them and even living through them. So not just any old stories. How about Snow White? Did that resonate with you? The Jonathan Pashot Snow White that we read?
Oh, not that one. I'm kind of re-summarizing it in my head right now.
Do you reflect much on stories? I know you liked a lot of TV stories and things when you were a kid and read a lot.
Okay. I'm not sure I did, at least when I read a lot, I'm not sure I like reflected too much on stories. Like I thought, wow, this is like a good story and I enjoy it. And maybe I'll think about the symbolism I saw and things like that. But I'm not sure I did much deep reflection on them.
Oh, that's why we're here.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why sorry, I'm trying to remember the Snow White right now.
The marriage of beauty and goodness and innocence and beauty and goodness and then a lesser beauty in the character of her evil stepmother, together with conniving and being worldly and being barren apparently. In fact, instead of giving birth to life, she takes life. She tries to kill Snow White. She kills Snow White's father. She brings sort of a period of despair and death to the kingdom.
Yeah, I think for that one, what I kind of thought more of is, yeah, kind of like you said, what is beauty and uh goodness and it kind of answered to like what is lack of beauty or ugliness, and it wasn't so. Yeah, it kind of, yeah, it sounds kind of cheesy, but you know what they say, like ugly is to the bone. It's not really about like what you look like, or it's more the actions you take that kind of
Yeah.
make a soul ugly.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Uh, yeah, like I actually haven't thought too much on the story, so thinking maybe I wasn't reflecting that much on it since we last spoke on it. But have you done reflecting on it?
I was just trying to start a conversation about it. Okay. Maybe next time we'll talk. Try to talk a little bit about that. I'd like to know what stories are important to you. I think that's a good thing to be able to say.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of a difficult one. Yeah, I haven't really thought about what stories are important to me. I
I mean,
just
does
remembered
nothing
the,
occur to you at the bit when I ask you that?
no, it was really difficult. I only just recalled what we talked about with Mulan last week, but that's not really like a myth or like a deeper story or anything.
Yeah.
So,
That more about sort of empowerment and a little bit like
yeah,
encouragements, like almost like self-help.
I mean, I wasn't thinking so much about empowerment, but I kind of like the aspect of the story of what makes what makes like a good daughter and things like that, and kind of
Oh, right. Yeah.
being dutiful to your family and kind of protecting them when you
Yeah.
can.
I didn't know Mulan was sort of like a Cinderella story. Yeah, it's very much like that.
But yeah, it's like I'll have to do reflecting on what stories speak out to me.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, and maybe get back to the four agreements sometime. Talk about those. I always like talking about those. Don't take anything personally. I think is very helpful. Okay. Yeah, we'll try next time.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Take care.